Welcome to the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission. Let's begin with roll call.
Oh, call to order.
Call out. I'm calling it to order.
At what time? The meeting's called to order at 7:02 p.m. And now we will do roll call. Councilmember Song? Here. Councilmember Godzi Edwin? Here. Commissioner Jackson? Here. Commissioner Bond? Vice Chair Garber?
Here.
Commissioner Winkler?
Here.
Chair Stanball?
Here.
Commissioner Sova?
Here.
Commissioner, I'm sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong.
Peitzmeyer.
Pitzmeyer?
Peitzmeyer.
Pitzmeyer.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's everyone. Go ahead.
Thank you. Public comment. Do we need a statement?
Do we have anyone here for public comment?
No, I see nothing.
Okay, no one's here for public comment?
And they can't call in, can they?
No.
Okay. Agenda. Everybody please look at the agenda and let me know. Is there additions, subtractions, corrections, discussion? Do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? No discussion? Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Agenda's passed. Ah. You just-
That's so funny.
Come and sit by me today, all
I'd
right.
like to start the meeting to introduce
The agenda is okay.
our newest commissioner,
Oh,
Vanessa Hernandez Jackson. Vanessa, will you say a few words about yourself and why you wanted to be part of this commission?
Yeah, so my name is Vanessa Hernandez Jackson. I work at the U. I'm a DEI lead there. As I was telling Aiden earlier, I'm someone who just naturally gets passionate about making change or shaking things up. So I felt like this was truly a space where I could grow and develop and also meet the needs of community members and serve. So that's what led me into this space.
I like her already.
Yeah, no, it's just, we're glad to have you. Welcome. July minutes. Move on. And we have a motion to accept the July minutes, which is our last meeting.
I'm ready to, did somebody move? I'm ready to.
Second.
Discussion. Anything that you see miss about these minutes? Should we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Follow up on outside group work. City Council. Lynn and Aisha, do you have anything that's of special interest to us?
That recently happened or that we're working on now?
What had recently happened that we ought to know about?
Do you want to go?
Sure. There's, so as you know, we are trying to hire a new police chief. It's been kind of an extended conversation. We had 4 candidates over the summer. I wasn't able to actually attend the interviews in person, so there was, I think, like 6 hours worth of video footage that we all reviewed. Yeah, I tried to speed it up to 1.5 the speed.
And everyone was talking so
Still
funny.
a lot.
It was amazing, yeah.
And our city administrator declined to pursue any of the 4 candidates who were presented. So we're back to another search. In the meantime, our interim chief, Amy Metzger, has moved on, has retired, and is moving on to university. And we just announced, I think one of our deputy chiefs is interim now.
Yeah. Yep.
So I bring that up because a couple things have happened since we were last convened. One is that Interim Chief Metzer had approved a contract with Trulio, which was is a software company that uses artificial intelligence to review footage, police camera footage. And I think there was some confusion that came out of the Police Oversight Commission, commissioners who had asked for it. And there was approval through Interim Chief Metzger because it didn't go to council for review because of the level of the contract. I think it was under $25K. I found that to be really problematic since we're still talking about trying to figure out a facial recognition ban, and had asked Interim Chief Metzger to delay deploying that, and there was actually pushback from the police union on using that too.
They didn't want to use it?
They didn't want.
What was their,
I think they're uncomfortable with the additional review when we already have a review process through the Oversight Commission that's kicked off by complaints.
Oh, so the technology was specifically to review footage as a complaint process? Okay.
Yes. Well, the technology is actually used to review police camera footage, also to encourage less use of force and I guess more professional interactions with the public. That's what it's pitched as.
It's also to use to like search and identify people. So that was one of the issues that we had, because like someone's quote unquote on the run or have done something and we misidentify someone.
Yeah.
And we're more likely to based on race, obviously, because the data is skewed and racist.
Do we know how it searches and identifies people? Because presumably there would have to be a central database of information. Right. Do they have that?
So
the third party, I apologize.
So Trulio, from what I understand, it's just I don't know what the algorithms are used.
Sure.
And I don't know if they work that up against the police database or FBI database. For here in Ann Arbor, the news that went out was just that it would just do a review of all the footage using AI, using all the footage, and as it would flag certain instances of inappropriate police behavior, like the tone of voice escalating, and then it would go to review. So I think the intentions were not too far-fetched. It was just that I think I had asked for additional review, because we are here, and this would be of interest to us. So. Yes.
I have a quick question. So what is the accuracy? Do they have like a statistic on the accuracy?
I don't remember what Trulio has says, like what the accuracy is. And we would be the first in the state to actually use it. So, which that's not something I want to test out on our residents. Yeah. So I don't remember.
And then my other question would be like, how would they assess issues of equity in the algorithm?
Yeah, that's the big question. So in the meantime, from last when we checked with the police department, it's on pause from being deployed because no one was happy with it.
Yeah.
But it's a discussion that needs to be revisited with the new interim chief. Yeah. And also, so that's one issue that's outstanding that this committee would be interested in. The other is that we are in year 2 of talking about a facial recognition ban. And that's when we had another draft language in August that our city prosecutor had sent to us. And it was more of a resolution saying that if we have internal policies at the prosecutor's office and within the police department, then they wouldn't use facial recognition as a sole means of investigation or prosecution. I had a call with the ACLU today, and there's been updates on with their work in Detroit on this, on 2 Detroit cases. And they are asking us to revisit this as an ordinance, and they gave examples of about 15 cities around the country that have already put bans in place, like citywide bans. And they've sent additional language as well as examples from those particular cities. In the Midwest, it's Minneapolis is a good one to look at, and Madison, Wisconsin. So I'll send you that list of I think of 15 to 20 cities.
So are they, does the ACLU is in favor of a complete
ban.
So not this business about can't use it as the sole.
They want
it just right.
So one of the things that came up is, well, one, they offered to come in and meet with HRC or come into city council and give testimony or public comments. one of the concerns was that, we talked about facial recognition being used for investigations, but they expanded the conversation to privacy concerns. So if facial recognition is used by our police to track where people are, who they're meeting with. I mean, we're a very politically active town, so it's one thing to be flagged for potentially being a suspect in an existing case or an outstanding warrant. It's another to be flagged when you're at a protest rally, and then who are you meeting with, and that those images are captured somewhere indefinitely with access to whoever. And then there's also the question about coordination between our local police and the state police. So if our police say that they won't use it for residents here, would they cooperate when Michigan State Police uses it? So, which they do, and the FBI uses facial recognition. They're pretty active in using it too. So more questions on jurisdiction, more questions about privacy concerns. And when the ACLU offered to have the man that they represented in this case in Detroit come and speak, they said that he came out to California when California was looking at this ban, and the California State Legislature, actually the bill sponsors who were against the ban switched their stances. They were so moved, and
That's good.
yeah, so it's a resource here that's here in Michigan that we should consider more strongly and move from a resolution back to thinking about an ordinance. Because I think the worry has increased. And they also asked if there's a potential thing about a ban from in schools and in public housing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So more work to do. I'll send it to you all our notes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think in city council in our past meetings, we've been working on, I don't know, approving more zoning for more housing.
Yeah, which is good.
And
Sorry, can I ask a question?
yeah,
So then, does the HRC, like, are we gonna be asked to, like, take a position on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then I think I would appreciate hearing from ACLU or some of these experts or people who were personally impacted, because I feel like I could use some more education around the issue to take a educated stance, so, yeah.
okay, yeah, good. Yeah, I'll ask them if they can come and speak and present to us. They can give us like a more privacy rights, human rights perspective,
Great.
not just kind of like the prosecutorial investigatives.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay.
Oops, sorry.
I can do that.
So an update that I have is some people from University of Michigan reached out to me about our ban the box policy, which is something that we've implemented with at least city jobs, but the potential of extending it to also be with our future contractors. Do you know about this?
Well, we worked on it for a
Yes.
long time, and then we discovered that there's actually a state law, I think, that actually bans
Like
cities from
preempts
banning
us,
the
yeah.
box for private employers. So I don't know.
But if they're doing a
city
bid with the city, I
contractors,
don't know if it's,
that's
if that area
maybe-
might be different.
But now that we have a Democratic legislature,
For
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen, but yeah.
really?
We're going to flip.
There are 2 reps who are running for mayors of their cities, so we're very likely to lose majority until spring.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, at some point, it might be, it's maybe time to, I know they have their hands full, but to ask them to take a look at that.
Yeah.
If that law is
state
still there.
legislature.
Well, let's
Well,
make sure
the-
it's still there.
Well, the
It is-
city attorneys, so I talked to the city attorneys,
Yeah.
and they said that, like, yeah, we could look into this, it could be feasible. They didn't say it was preempted by any state law,
Okay.
but they also may not know.
Right.
So
Okay.
they're going to do like a brief and a recommendation. This is something that obviously HRC should be involved in
Right.
and take a stance on. So whatever research I obtain, I'll keep you all updated.
Okay.
But, yeah. I mean,
Something we're definitely
Well,
interested in.
in an ideal world, extending it to all city employers. Although, I mean, I should say there is research out there that shows that ban the box on employment applications has a deleterious effect on African-American young men
Yeah.
because they make an assumption based on name. If you have a name that sounds like you're African-American,
Wow.
if there's no box.
Yeah.
So You know, that information is kind of dated, the research. It's more than 5 years old.
Yeah.
And there are ways around it, but it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. This actually is in effect in Detroit and Kalamazoo. So it can't, a policy is like this is in effect in Detroit and Kalamazoo.
For businesses.
For extending ban the box to like
City
contracts with
contractors?
city
Yeah,
contractors.
It does, yeah, so I think that was a law or a policy that was enacted about 5 years ago. So they may have done that before.
I'll look into it. I'll look at it when I looked into it earlier.
Yeah.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll keep you all updated. Then the other thing is I mean, this is something that is relevant to CODI, but also here. You know, my organization, Detroit Disability Power, has helped Detroit to build a housing list, and it includes both properties from the private sector as well as like affordable unit. And it gives information about accessibility, as well as other features, right? Like, is it close to public transit? Is it in a walkable community? And it specifically helped, you know, people who are usually housing insecure, cycling in and out of shelters that aren't accessible, exacerbates their disability. They get placed in an affordable unit, and then they go up and they're in a wheelchair, you know, there's steps, and then they cycle back, and it's the whole thing. And then in Detroit also, they have such aging infrastructure that even rules like using federal money to build public housing, the current rule is that 5% have to be accessible, but for Detroit, like they have such aging infrastructure that was built before those rules, that it takes a lot for them to catch up. So I've been in a conversation with Jennifer Hawley and Arbor Housing Commission recently, and she's interested in exploring potentially having a similar list. They already collect that information, but having this list, it would also be available to, like, you know, organizations that help to place people. This is like a very ambitious idea, but it's something that is being explored, and I'll bring you all into.
Are you thinking for all rental properties?
I mean, it would be difficult because we have to think about the mechanism of, like, would we mandate the landlords or property owners routinely report their accessibility features? Like, would the list be static?
Right.
It would take manpower and money to update. Detroit did it because they had a federal grant. And I don't know, though, all the details about how they keep it updated. It's called Detroit Home Connect is the website. It's a public database. So anyway, I'll keep you all updated on that.
Great. It'd be nice if there were some incentives to do that, to make things accessible and to get on the list.
Are you saying what are the
No,
incentives?
it'd be nice if there were incentives, because housing is so hard to get anywhere here.
Right.
That you
Right.
need incentive.
And I mean, I think here too, like, our demand is so high.
Yes.
Right. That, and maybe it's my understanding of right to renew, but it's hard to even determine, like, when is a property on the market, right? But whether or not people post, like, this is an accessible apartment, we don't have hard times with renting. Landlords don't have hard times renting it out. So you're right, what would be the incentive? Yeah, that's a good point.
So besides council approving more development, with a big project is by the stadium, and that'll be the first mass timber project.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. So it's sustainable, dense by the
Yeah.
stadium. I think it's 200 units. I can't remember.
I think it's 200 units, yeah.
With parking?
Some, but you know, we don't. I mean, it's by the stadium. I mean, it's marketed. It's real. It's on campus. It's by campus.
Yeah.
I think a huge exciting point is that parking for the demographic that we're aiming to serve is kind of not a non-issue, but, you know, we're looking at all these data reports just about how density ultimately is not something that requires parking necessarily, and the, you know, sort of the young demographic we're finding as well, you know, at a state level as well, they want to have, you know, these walkable cities. As we know, this is not news, and so I think this was a very positive step in the right direction.
And parking makes projects more expensive. So for Jennifer Hall right now,
No, but it makes it awful for people who live near there if there's no parking.
I mean, there's some. It's
There's
just
some. I
not
think
one
there's a
for
good
every
balance,
unit.
yeah.
Because, I mean, what we found is, as we've approved the projects, there's parking that's gone unused that we've required, so that's why we've changed it to no parking minimums for.
And also, like, every unit that required a parking space or two drove up the cost exorbitantly
Yeah.
of the development. So either, like, the builder couldn't afford it, but then it would drive up the price.
Yeah, so we're
People
at,
couldn't rent it.
then we don't get discounts, so when the city builds on our own property for our own affordable housing projects, we still have to pay labor costs, supply costs. So right now, with Jennifer cobbling together projects for East Catherine, I mean, she has to have 12 pools of funding that she pulls together, and it's about $400,000 a unit now. So housing costs are really, really, really high. The struggle is real, but
The
she's been
struggle is
able to
real.
land, I think, $8 million in additional state funding this week. So there's some good news coming for our housing commission.
Yeah, she mentioned
Yeah.
that.
And we're also working on an election center, so
Mm-hmm. That's
voting, if voting's a human right, is it? I don't know, democracy is probably a human right. I'll just pitch it in as an update for everyone. We are, so on the policy committee, and the city administrator, or assistant city administrator has pushed us as part of our policy agenda while we have majority, which is to fund an election center here in Ann Arbor, as well as Grand Rapids and Lansing. So it's a 3-city joint effort where all 3 city clerks have signed a letter saying, in advance of 2024 elections, we anticipate, in a presidential year, a number of absentee ballots that need to be processed ahead of time. And if you remember the lines of students at the last election,
It was unreal.
it's something we'd like to prepare for, and this building is at capacity with existing staff coming to work. So it worked last time because a lot of them were working at home, but to train election workers to process the ballots, we need more physical, secure space. So
To
the
count
city's-
them, it doesn't have, the most secure.
Yeah. So we're looking at purchasing a building, and we've asked the state to fund that. So there's a big push in the legislature now for these last-minute funding asks, and we're hoping democracy is worth investing in from the state. So all 3 cities, hopefully that will come through.
And that also will function as like our emergency response
Yeah.
for the city. So like if something were to happen, if there's a tornado or anything, it would be like mission control. I don't know the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a current
That
space
would be
just for
good.
that.
And it would be good to double, to have
Yeah.
more use for it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Lots of stuff going on.
Are they going to pass the gun ban for abusers before the legislature changes it?
Hopefully.
I don't know.
I mean, we've been trying to track a bunch of things, like the land value tax initiative that was in Detroit and Ann Arbor tried to be included. Ann Arbor was kicked off this legislation last night, and then I think it was voted down just this afternoon. So there's like that. Yeah, so I don't know. There's a Reproductive Freedom Act is yet to come out of committee. So there's a lot of things that this current majority needs to figure out soon. Yeah. But council's great. Council's great.
Let's move on then. To make us great. Traffic stop ordinance. There was the ordinance, there was also a guidance that was issued after that, and I'd like to just talk about that briefly and talk about your sense of the public forum.
So the Police Oversight Commission had a public forum at Peace Neighborhood Center a couple weeks ago. Leslie was there. I think it was a good turnout. It was really nice to see folks from community who haven't come and give public comments before, but came specifically to speak on secondary traffic offense ordinance.
Yeah.
It was really moving to hear from community members who are saying, like, I've been pulled over with my children with no real reason as to why I was pulled over, and it makes me feel more unsafe to be pulled over like this. So I think Cynthia Harrison, Councilmember Harrison, who's behind this ordinance, spoke to it. It was very moving. She spoke to how up to the trauma and harm unnecessary stops has been on Black community members, and how we have the potential to decrease harm and interactions. Tickets can still be issued in the mail, but it doesn't necessarily mean that our officers have to interact with folks.
You mean people will be sent tickets because
They
they
can
haven't
be.
expired?
Right. But our police department was like, that's not a priority. And then some of them, I thought Amy was really interesting. She's like, I didn't even know this was a ticketable offense. You know, if you put your sticker on the wrong corner, she's like, that's just not
wild.
a priority for our police. But they just wanted to state like this isn't like there are like these. It's a public safety issue, you know. So
Yeah.
there's no reason to pull folks over because of loud exhaust, tinted windows.
Yeah.
It's like I think 15 reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anything, like, you know, it increases feelings of distrust.
Yeah.
So people sense that the community is actually not safe. I wasn't able to go to it. I remember my kid was sick, but I heard really good things about it, and I heard people's testimonies were really moving. There's something else that was passed, and forgive me because I'm forgetting the name, but by Councilmember Cynthia Harrison. Is it the Midas? It's like the requirement for police officers currently to record the reasons.
Yes, that's what I want us to talk about, because that's critical.
Yeah.
Because the police are not, it's not being recorded that well, so how do you know that this is working? And we want it to work.
But this now would require that they have to check off their reasons for,
why they were pulled over.
Yes, yeah. As opposed to, I think previously, I don't want to speak to it because I'm not remembering at this moment, but do you remember?
Yeah, so I guess the database that the police currently use, you can only check off one reason as to why folks were pulled over. Things have multiple, right?
So they need to check, they need to have software changed so that it is, because I think that's an important piece of this this process, to make sure to be able to monitor why it's happening.
Yeah, because it's
it's
pretty clear they've been pulled over for multiple reasons, not just speeding. So so that needs to be marked. And
Well, is anybody looking at that and making sure that it's going to happen? Or is that something that...
I think, the expectation that previous IPPOC chair, Dr. Jackson had was that there'd be regular reports given to IPPOC, and that hasn't happened. So it's up to us to actually press our city administrator and work with our police to see if we can get more traffic defense reports. I'm not sure why that hasn't happened. That was the commitment made last year.
And it was passed.
And it was passed, yeah.
I think Councilmember Harrison could speak more to it. We can because I know that she's working on it.
Yeah.
So I can
believe that. She seems to be pretty committed to it, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
But I think that we really would like to see, we'd like to monitor it and check it in a year or so and see how it's doing, and we won't do it if they're not gathering the data that we need to do it.
Yeah, I
So
think
this is the time to change and make sure.
this was really informed by the work that Dr. Karpiak did at EMU and his report of the folks who were pulled over, the reasons why, and how Black community members were pulled over 2-point-something times as often.
I thought it was like 20, but
Yeah.
something times it was a lot.
So it shouldn't take an academic to review this. So we are trying to figure out on a more regular basis how we can access the data and do the review ourselves.
Okay. I will talk to IPPOC about that too, because I think we've got two people from here. I think it's Judah and maybe Brandon, who said they would work on this. And we need some people from...
Nice, Brandon.
It's in the minutes.
Let's do it. It's been 2 months, so.
I know. So I don't want to go by the wayside.
I think it's just a quick conversation with Cynthia.
I really do. I think that if you want to do outreach, just call her up and be like, hey, we just want an update so we can keep our commission updated.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon.
Aiden, you're about to be our most involved volunteer. We're going to make sure you are a superstar of the month
Behind
volunteer.
that lens through the library
Yes.
to keep me in.
You're not going anywhere.
Anything more about facial recognition?
I think it's just keep your eyes open for an email, and I'll do that invitation for them to come and speak.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aisha, you wanted to talk about housing energy rating disclosure.
Oh, I guess I can talk about it. So, the housing energy rating disclosure was something that the Office of Sustainability brought that basically said that if you're going to sell your house in Ann Arbor, it would be required that you would have to have a city assessor come out and evaluate and give you a score based on how energy efficient your home was. And that would be public on the MLS, the Michigan listing for homes, right? And there were questions about equity in regards to it is likely, and research has shown, that homes that are going to have lower scores will most likely be concentrated in lower income neighborhoods, which are predominantly neighborhoods with people of color, right? And how is this going to affect a seller? So if a seller goes to the market and a family is hoping, we want to get at least what we paid for this home because we want to move to a different neighborhood with better schools, whatever. And then potentially, and they've said in research that this hasn't happened in other cities, Portland does it, but there has to be some sort of impact. That a buyer could come back and say, listen, I noticed homes in Ann Arbor have this low score and yours sucks. So we are gonna offer you less, right? So basically, talking to Missy about it, and they're really committed to equity at OSI, and they were thinking about equity when they made this. I missed one part. People who have low scores can access subsidies and rebates that are being both provided at the federal level and state level and the city level to make home improvements, energy updates. So I talked to Missy about can we proactively target people who we know already are low income and are likely to have low scores and say just want to let you know that these rebates exist, right? Because we have information on people who get property tax exemptions or whatever.
It's more likely that they'll use them before they
Well,
sell it.
not just
And
that,
it's
they'll
not-
lower their energy bills now.
Right.
Right.
And save money.
Right, but also to keep it in context, these updates might be 40 grand and you get 10 grand off, 20 grand.
Oh.
Does that really make it affordable?
Right.
But this money isn't endless. So then it's at least allowing people with the highest need to get first dibs. So that's part of the resolution that I'm bringing. In addition, it's a lot of GIS mapping and data collection, and Missy is gonna talk to experts at U of M and figure out what are variables that we can monitor and track to compile a report on an annual basis and give it to council and it'll be available to the public on, are we seeing any economic or racial disparities occurring because of the herd release? Are we seeing that but how would you, the issue is how could we track that? Maybe it would be length of time a home was on the market, or on the market, or what a seller asked for versus what it sold, versus layering on top of race and income. It'd be a lot, and there would be a lot of assumptions.
Is it also expensive to get the assessor to look at your home?
That part is free.
Free, the city.
That part is free.
Wait, who does the assessment then?
A city-trained assessor, but we do also have a program where we're going to be training other assessors that work with.
And is the standard they use something that's sort of a national?
Yes, isn't it, from
Yes.
Department of Energy?
Yes.
Because every house is, the age, the material, I mean, it seems like a very difficult thing to assess in any,
Well, you could look at the square footage and see how much energy they use on a given month.
that could just be their habits of how.
Right, I mean,
warm
you
they
already have
are.
access to energy bills, like
Yeah.
sellers will present energy bill estimates. I think the difference between
Right.
this and the herd estimate is that just the gap in just trying to figure out what the cost of getting you to be as most energy efficient as possible,
Yeah.
so that the buyers understand what their potential costs are.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels like it would be nicer to offer it, as a,
As an
a
opt-in.
gift to the people in the city who want to know, how their house stacks up and what they can do to
I think
improve
that you
it,
can.
as opposed to, more of a-
Requiring.
at time of sale. There is also going to be potentially something coming to put it in maybe potentially the inspection process, but also I think that there is the ability for people to just request it, not necessarily at the time of sale, but I need to clarify that.
Yeah.
Anyway, this resolution is coming to council next week, on Monday. So I wanted to let you all know, because that report, the analysis of that report could be something that does come to Human Rights Commission, and just do we see trends?
And I just had a quick question.
How would that impact short sales and foreclosures just when like time isn't really there to like make the changes
Right.
per se because someone's moving so quickly in that process? Like, is there an
That's a good
expedited
question.
process to like support them with getting the possible like credits or renovations in those type of unique situations?
So you're talking about if someone were to buy a foreclosed home?
If someone's selling like due to a
Someone's
short,
selling.
you know,
Hold up,
some
they sell.
divorces
Yeah.
can require short sales sometime, and then like if they're going through a foreclosure, maybe they didn't plan or weren't, you know, sometimes.
People aren't,
Yeah.
people aren't required to make updates. You're not penalized if you don't make updates. That, I think, is an important point to just emphasize. You are required to get the assessment. They'll tell you, like, Aisha, your score's 25. It's bad.
And then you have to report that.
It's going to be part of
Yeah.
the listing.
The thing is, every old home that we
Yeah.
haven't replaced all the windows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
I know. But, I mean, this is not going to be like on Zillow. It's not going to be like a number added. It's, you know, it's,
Okay.
but it is going to be like as part of the listing record.
If it
That's
becomes
something.
common, we'll pick it up.
I mean, the thing with Ann Arbor is our demand is so great and our supply is so
Right,
low
right.
that a lot of people aren't going to be like, oh, this house. But I mean, the point of it is to help to change behavior and to incentivize people to make upgrades. So these are all important questions. So we should, keep having an account.
No,
Yeah.
it's well intentioned.
No, I get it. I get it.
Landlords weren't thrilled.
I'm sure.
Oh, they weren't thrilled at all.
They made their
They came out hard.
they
yeah,
made their presence known.
Yeah, they did. They
Yeah.
really
Yes, and
did.
they haven't been that happy lately.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
I'll bring it back once, the report.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Let's move on. School of Social Work Partnership. Let me tell you where we're at. This is going to be an interesting year for this, and some of you will probably want to get involved. I hope some of you will get involved. We've got 2 classes, 5 groups each, and they have chosen some interesting topics, and a lot of them are, I got a 2-pager from each group telling me what they were going to do so I could give them some ideas about where they might go to find what they need. Most of them are really interesting, and some of them I think will be good. They've already done some research. So I'm hoping we will take all of those reports. They're not going to be full reports this time. They're going to be, I think, some kind of fairly short summary and more information about the solution than the problem. But I think it'll still be helpful. We'll keep it in our library, our database that will, so people can look at it. We will probably pick 1 or 2 to give a presentation to us. But it's a good, it's fun to do, and it's a good PR thing, and the people in the city seem to like being interviewed about their jobs and what the problems are, and talking to these kids. So, or students, they're not kids.
Is it happening with Trina Shanks' class, or has it been?
It's Trina Shanks and Candace
Oh, good. Good.
Christensen.
I'm glad it.
Yeah.
That's great.
It'll be very interesting. Anyway, you can get involved. You've got the list of ideas. When I think of a match, I've called Sarah about possibility of LGBT youth and interaction with kids. Why can't I think of the name? The youth group that is on Washington.
Neutral zone.
Neutral Zone, yes, thank you. But there are a number of them that I think will be interesting. Mailing. I want you to know, I also sent it to you today. I don't know. I thought I sent it to you before and I didn't. We mailed to our list of about 250 people and groups some information, including information about Washtenaw, or the ID card and the new process and the new advantages. And I think it's nice to be able to do that to people who we care about. I don't think we received any information back, any response.
Oh, okay.
And I was actually disappointed at the turnout. We also announced the fact that there was a public forum for traffic stop. Very few people from the community came, and I thought that was very disappointing because I do think people care a lot about it and why they don't know. I know that IPOC also sent to their mailing list. So, and it was in the newspaper. So, I mean, I saw it in a lot of places, but I didn't see very many people show up from the community. And I think they would like to.
I hope it's, I mean, when I was on the library board and Eden, I mean, you see this too, a lot of folks didn't come to our board meetings, and I asked about that, and they said that the other board members and the library directors, like, generally people really trust what the library does. So it's not like, she asked us to think of it as not like a reflection of like disinterest. It was more that they trust the leadership. So I don't know, maybe we're somewhere in between that when it comes to attendance to public events.
I do think a lot more people attended the last year
Yeah.
public forum, so that was really nice to see. I believe out of the community there were 8 people from the community there, especially from the new groups that we had added to the email list. But there was a lot of support from the city, and I was very pleased to see our city administrator there as well as our interim chief. So we had a good turnout from last year, which I think everyone really enjoyed.
Yeah, some people from the police department, some city attorney.
Are people ever asked like how they found out about it? Because I still feel like the marketing aspect of like a lot of the work the city does is not really up to date.
You don't visit our website every day?
I love it. I love it. It's my morning routine.
It is new.
So I have to check it out.
We did it. It's a while now.
But yeah, I think that could be hopefully something
That's a good question, though. I don't think
helpful is,
anybody ever asked that.
Because I think if we have that data of like knowing where that information is going to, like who's getting it, because there's also like a lot of disparities that come along with just like who has time to like look into this, who's getting contacted, who has the time to like read emails or go to websites or whatever else. But if we're not meeting people where they're at, then we can't expect that engagement as well. So I think it's like the two truths can exist of like maybe we are just doing an amazing job, when I think we do, and everything, but there's also like that part of I think we need to move forward with some more updated marketing strategies and everything too, to make sure that we are actually reaching the people with like the platforms that they use.
I think so, and especially with the traffic stop, it was something people wanted. I want them to know that it's there, and I want them to report when it doesn't work, and the same with the ID card. Yeah. Anyway, so that went out. We will send things out periodically, but. I don't know, complaints. Judah, do you want to start talking about complaints that we've received?
I don't think we've gotten any in the last month. Cooperated well with my vacation schedule, so that was good. So we have one or two that are outstanding and that are in process, and people are working on them.
At least 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I want you to know that we did deal with one that we partnered with the Disability Commission with, and that was interesting and helpful. They really don't have the ability, they don't have it in their it's not mandated to them, it's not to handle complaints. We have to, there's now an ADA person on board, and we have to talk to that person about who does what. And I don't know what that is yet, but I will now meet her and ask, and I'll be back and talk to you about that. Maybe bring her to the next meeting. So
I think Laura's trying to figure out, it's the first position that the city has ever had of a staff member that's going to be dealing on accessibility, and I think a lot of people think that it's just like ADA requirements, but an ADA coordinator is something completely different because they take complaints related to public property, federal property, right? Federal ADA complaints. So this is different, and Kodai doesn't have a budget or the means to, kind of
Right.
do this.
And we do some disability generally because it's more of a human rights issue. And they may want to do that too, I don't know. But
Yeah.
but I have a feeling we can split our work up.
I think,
Yeah, we have a huge budget for that.
Yes, oh, yes.
The second I said that, I was like, oh, wait.
But it is a protected category in the non-discrimination ordinance, so if somebody, we should at least be talking to listeners.
Right.
For sure.
So
Good to
we're-
have someone we can talk to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did talk about in the mailing that people should report to us if they have any trouble with the ID. Keita was going to report on, there was some problem with that. I hope it's resolved, but Keita's not here, so I don't know yet. I didn't realize she wasn't going to be here. Trespass, Linda.
Well, Leslie found out that from, I guess,
Patrick.
Deputy Chief, now going to be interim chief, Patrick McGuire, who was great in helping us get it done, that the form is now in use. What I don't know, and I assume the policies and procedures that were changed to reflect the changes in the form, but he's going to be super busy right now, but I will follow up with him, or whoever is the appropriate person now, just to find out what experiences they're having with the new form, if there are any issues, and to see if we can get a look at the new policies and procedures to make sure they make sense in light of the changes. So, I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts or questions on that. No? Okay.
I think it sounds like it's just a form, but it is something, at one point in the public forums that we had about that, people said trespass is the way people of color are being controlled. And I'm very sensitive to that, and I'm hoping this will make a difference.
Yeah.
Identifying LGBTQ plus human rights needs.
Aisha and I were just talking about working with the city attorney on this. So they asked for some time to do some research. And so we've had multiple meetings with them, but they are going to get back to us about kind of what is legally possible, because that's the question we kind of keep bumping up against at the local level. A lot of the so just as a reminder, we're looking at LGBTQ affirming bathroom bills, shield laws, so like laws that protect providers who offer gender affirming care or reproductive health care, and then also sanctuary laws, which are laws that protect patients from pursuing gender affirming care or reproductive health care in Ann Arbor. So a lot at the national level, a lot of those laws for all three of those things have been passed at the state level. And so they're wanting to do their real due diligence and look at the city level. And we've been getting really into the weeds about like the building inspection process and the like code of building whatever, and how that intersects with like what types of bathrooms you're allowed to create and how many fixtures they have to have and the ventilation, if you have it, like it all actually impacts how feasible it is to have multi-gender restrooms and those sorts of things. So they are researching all of that, and there's sort of a question about how to proceed, because at the state level they're hoping to update the building code in the next year, but it's very open-ended. It's long overdue. So it's just like when they actually get around to passing it in the legislature. So it might not pass for a long time. So if that passes, that really clearly opens up the way legally to have some of these affirming local bills that we want to pass around bathrooms. But while the current state building code is in place, the city attorney is nervous about us requiring or enabling things that are technically in contradiction to the current state building code.
Even though it's going to change.
Even though it's going to change to be in alignment with what we need.
Which makes sense, because we don't want to make ourselves, liable to.
Yes. So it's sort of like those nitty gritty questions, and then like one of the attorneys thought it was fine, the other one was more pessimistic. So we were trying to kind of
Move it
forward so that they can come to a conclusion, so we have more clarity about what we want to pursue and put our efforts behind, because I think that has been a little murky. So we're hoping to have more news for you next month, but that's kind of where everything stands. They're interested in these things. They have been doing a lot of work around them. I don't want to minimize any of that, but it sounds like it's just way more complicated and in the weeds than any of us ever appreciated who aren't building engineers. So
Yeah, like I'm very building engineering.
yeah.
And like we started talking about things, which I brought up, and I'm very passionate about changing tables in all new builds, like regardless of the gender. I mean, that it's wild it doesn't exist. I mean, my husband being, more responsible for a 2-year-old, it's wild. So anyway, I'm mentioning that because like that's how far in the weeds we got. Like we got into the weeds.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna follow up with the city attorney's office and find out the progress that's been done, or if they need more time and when we can meet, and I will get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love how you're trying to find the middle ground in bureaucracy.
You're a good one.
Let's keep moving forward in
Yeah.
bureaucracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like an interesting, like, activism question, too, around, like, I'm like, whatever, let's just pass this and force the state to, and then they're like, that actually could really backfire, and we should do the, like, proper channels, and I'm like, well, you know more than I do, so I guess you're probably right, but it's a very frustrating thing to be told, so, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Anything else? We've got new business?
I forgot to bring up something, if you don't mind. Senator Stephanie Chang has been trying to push for the Drive Safe
Yes.
legislation. So that's driver's licenses for all Michigan residents.
Regardless of
Yes, regardless of status.
citizenship, yes.
Status.
Yeah.
So I have a fact, an information packet that I can send around to everyone. It's really good. It has support from the Michigan League for Public Policy, Michigan Immigrant Rights Center, and there's some talking points. So she's asking for assistance, and given that we already have our Washington ID, I feel like we're a good group that could chime in if interested and push the legislature in understanding how vital having access to an ID would be for all state residents.
Critical, yes. Yeah, if we can help, absolutely. What might it involve? What would we need?
I mean,
Is she going to be able to pass this before the
I mean, there's
legislature
great
changes?
hope. ACLU has chimed in. They only have a couple weeks, so. But it's there hasn't the pushback from Republicans has. It's been like really grounded on anti-immigrant, racist attitudes on who deserves, who deserves to be on the road, I guess, and or to have these licenses. But this fact sheet is pretty helpful in trying to just kind of get these myths out of the way. Like, why don't immigrants have access to licenses? Undocumented immigrants did have access to driver's licenses until 2008, so it's not new. And also undocumented folks are in process of getting work visas, becoming citizens, so they need licenses for everyday work. So we shouldn't be punitive as we try to encourage folks to participate and verify their status. So it's a really good fact sheet. I'll just send that around for folks to review, and if we can weigh in at some point as a body, I think it would be really helpful for us to tell our representatives for Ann Arbor. They're all on board. They're all supportive. So I mean, it's always the case. I feel like of course Jeff Irwin.
Yeah, Jeff was expected on.
Drive Safe.
Yeah, Drive Safe Michigan. And then there's also a coalition, the Drive Safe Coalition. And it's headed up by We the People Michigan, which is an organization that's helped to spearhead the effort legislatively. But this was really like a grassroots organizing effort. Like a bunch of organizations got together and they started pushing this. And who was it who helped to get it up? What was her name in Traverse City? What's the state rep's name? Do you know? Betsy Kofi.
Betsy
Yep.
Kofi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. She was really instrumental in helping with it. I did a lecture at U of M that featured all these people who were involved in it, so I could connect us too. But why don't we check out the fact sheet and see?
Yeah.
If we can do anything to help.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
very
think we
important.
should take a stance
Yeah.
publicly on the drive safe stuff for sure,
Yeah.
to help put pressure.
Stephanie is also trying to get a package of police improvement bills introduced, but it looks like the clock is kind of running out on that, and that's across House and Senate on things including like additional monies to recruit and train officers, no-knock warrants. It's like a whole list of things they're trying to get introduced, but there's just reluctance. Everyone has cold feet. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to me, but I'll send the drive safe stuff.
Yeah,
No.
do that. And when
Yeah.
you said we should take a stance, are you thinking about anything specific? Like a resolution to ask
Good.
city council to do something, or?
Or a resolution to ask, it would be our city administrator to advocate to the Michigan legislature for the passage of the Drive Safe Michigan bills. That would probably be like the title of it. But essentially, that's the way that you write it up in a resolution.
I think especially with the context of the last year of all of the ID work that Kita has led and just all
Yeah.
of our conversations as
Yeah.
well, that would be
No,
Yeah.
huge.
absolutely.
Yeah, we could have a lot of whereas clauses.
Yeah.
But like I think it would help to put pressure, I'm sure, in a good way.
Are you all interested in having a resolution?
Sure, I don't know. Asking the city administrator to do it though, is that?
Do you want to like talk about
Or
why?
city council?
I mean, is that the
About-
way it's, or can you,
Asking the city administrator to put pressure on the Michigan legislature for the passage of the Drive Safe Michigan.
I mean, I think we're the ones as reps, as fellow electeds,
Yeah.
who
Right.
could put the pressure on, and as constituents versus our city administrator. Yeah.
We could just do a resolution that just says we're
we're in
supportive
support
of this
of
as
this?
a
Yeah.
body.
Yeah, it doesn't really,
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
ask anybody to do anything and just
Yeah.
send it to the representatives. Although, you know, some people think that the more Ann Arbor gets behind something, the more
Yeah,
other
the
people
worse.
get
All right.
away from it, so. I
In
mean,
some ways
you
it
know,
sounds like
Look,
it's
this is- So
That's
my
not like that.
conversations with Speaker Tate has been, look, all of you are sending your kids to school here, so let's not pretend Ann Arbor is just like
Yeah.
some city to laugh at. You know,
Yeah.
we have a lot of potential here to demonstrate
Yeah.
to other cities what kind of potential can happen here. So
Okay.
I know there's like these ideas that Ann Arbor is its own special island, but we make room for folks to be on this island, and everyone
We do.
seems to want to be here together. So,
Oh, no,
yeah.
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying that people who would tend to be opposed to something might look
Yeah.
at Ann Arbor and think, well, if they're in favor of it, then I'm definitely
At
not.
a statewide level,
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
you do see
Yeah,
the
I
laugh,
know.
you see the
I
laugh
know.
reacts
That's
of Ann
okay.
Arbor.
I know.
Doesn't
No,
mean we
I
shouldn't
hear
do
that.
it. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
we shouldn't.
No,
do
right,
it.
right. No, I hear it, and I'm just like, well,
I mean, the same
come
way you said
visit.
Deborah Irwin is, of
Right.
course, in favor of it, and,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's-
Yeah,
So-
that's why we need a better majority. Bigger majority.
But
Yeah.
sure, I mean, we
Okay.
can.
I will see if we can get a resolution constructed.
Okay.
It is.
Maybe it would be a letter. I don't know if it would even be a resolution. I don't know.
What I want, I mean, if we do a resolution, we're going to have this and this and this, and hopefully the resolution will go public, and people will say that, yeah, why not? If it's just a letter,
That's true, yeah.
I mean, we can.
I mean, we can just talk about how it's been a community process here for the
Mhm.
Washington ID and how it came from protecting our residents from harm. You know,
Yeah.
it's a public safety, human rights
Yeah.
issue
Yeah.
that hopefully the state legislature can look at that way. That this should be an experience or right available to all Michigan residents in its own way. So.
And Washington County Commission should also kind of take I mean, that's, that was where some of the ID work was started, so
Right.
talking to them
I think
too.
Yusuf worked on
yeah.
that before he was in the legislature, right?
Them also releasing something, or
Yeah.
us doing something jointly, seems to make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anybody interested in working on this?
Brandon, are you interested?
You're not doing anything.
If I get some support, whatever I can do.
I think Aiden definitely can.
Well, I haven't seen him by the end of the night.
Yeah, this
It's already drafted. Like.
He's gonna follow you home.
Well, let me know if you are,
Okay.
and since I'm the one who brought up.
No, I
CPAC,
definitely
yeah.
think we ought to do it,
Yeah.
and we'll figure it out. I think it's important. Commissioner Communications, anything? Well, then we could entertain a
Well, should we
motion to adjourn.
should we have a formal goodbye?
Oh
to,
my God.
That's right.
Is that your? Can you communicate your?
Yeah, so I'm sure most people have heard I am leaving the Human Rights Commission after close to 3 years, if some of my friends can believe that. I was telling Vanessa and Linda that, so I sent an email to join when I was a sophomore in college.
I remember.
Leslie
I remember when you joined.
just decided to not email me back, I suppose. I'm just kidding. Jokes in love. Jokes in love. Jokes in love. Jokes in love. And, when I was a senior in college, I got the email back, and it was very exciting. Leaders on the commission fought for me because at the time I was in Jackson, finishing the semester, COVID, weird times. I think more than just sparking community, advocacy, and even just giving me the tools to help be a legitimate sort of force of good in this community, at least I aspire to be. It cannot be emphasized enough, even just in terms of the introduction to this community that this place gave me, in terms of you see all of the people at this table. I just graduated, I got my own place, I was living alone, and so I think that community, just sort of assistance and championing that I got here was very helpful. I never would have met many of you. I never would have been introduced to the library. I never would have,
You've been
been
to
in
the
this
library
space.
before, though.
I've been to the library before. I should clarify. I checked out books before. But I cannot at all just share just how grateful I am. And I mean this very sincerely. This is not just lip service. I hope that in some point in my life, when I'm less busy, knock on wood,
you'll be
that I
back.
can rejoin if you'll have me.
We may not
of
live
course.
that long.
Well, hopefully you're still kicking, Leslie. I don't know. But sincerely, thank you so much, everybody. Please do not be a stranger.
Yeah.
Let me know however I can be helpful. And maybe if you guys make me real mad, I'll be in these seats over here, hooting and hollering. But,
We're coming to the library board meeting.
hopefully,
We're gonna come and give public comment.
hopefully with I love you signs, not pitchforks. You never know. But again, seriously, thank you, everybody. It's
I
been
think
a ride.
we all wish you a very bright future.
Thank you.
I think we have a public commenter.
Yeah, do you have a public comment?
Yes.
He's just observing.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Oh, I don't vote, but yeah.
Let's go. Thank you.
I'm gonna come to the library and be like,
Please.
we need more LGBTQ.